Alright, question 26. Now we're getting to the difficult questions. This one does require a little more work, require a little more deeper thinking, but let's try to work this out together. Okay, in this triangle MNP, we know two facts. One side is 6, the other side is 10, and we're going to find out which angle can angle MB, right, to form two distinctively different triangles, right? Okay. So, in order to solve this question, we need to use law of sines, right? Law of sines, we have two proportions, right? Usually it's sine A over the side opposite, and sine B over the side opposite, right? So I'm going to use that proportion to set this up. We have one side we know is 6, the other side is 10, right? And we know this angle M, right, is with the same side opposite of side 6. So we're going to put, let's try this out. Let's just try out the first choice here. We're going to have to plug it in, test it and see. And if that is sine 35, let's find out what the other angle could be. Let's just name this n, right, because it's opposite of side 10. Okay, so let's cross multiply here. And let's try finding this over here. So we have 10 sine 35 equal to 6 times sine n. Okay, now we want to solve for n. We want to find out what this missing angle is. So we're going to divide by 6 on both sides. Okay, and this should, this calculation over here, we should use our graphing calculator to actually get the decimal for this. Okay, I'm going to bring mine up. Right, make sure my mode is in degrees, because I'm going to have to calculate some degrees over here. So I'm going to type in 10 sine 35, right, and we'll divide by 6. Okay, it's 0.9559, right, so approximately 0.9559 equals sine n. And to get the actual angle of sine n, we'd have to use second sine. That's to find the angle in degrees. And we want to put in this number, 0.9559. So one quick way of doing that is pressing second and then pressing the answer button on the bottom right next to the enter key. Right, press enter. And it gives us approximately 73 degrees. So n, right, n is approximately 73 degrees. Okay, so the scenario goes like this. If it is choice 1, right, if m is 35 degrees, then the angle n, right, must be 73, right? So let's see if this is a valid triangle, right? So in a triangle, we know there is 180 degrees altogether. So if one angle is 35 degrees, right, the other angle is 73, right? Do we have any degrees left to form triangle? So well, if you add up, this angle m and this angle n, we only use up 108 degrees. So we have another angle. The last angle could be the remainder 72 degrees. Okay, so that's valid, right? So we have 35, 73, and 72 over here. That is a valid triangle. Now, a sine is also positive in a different quadrant, right? So let's say sine is so this 73 degrees is in quadrant 1, right? So sine is positive here. The sine is also positive in quadrant 2. So what is the angle of sine? We'll reference angle of 73 degrees. All right, you change the colors here. All right. In quadrant 2, what is the angle of sine that gives you 8.9559? So the reference angle is 73 in quadrant 2. This would be a angle of 107 degrees. Okay, so that is another valid answer. So angle N could also be 107 degrees if it was in quadrant 2. So let's see if this can still form a valid triangle. Right, so we still have 35 degrees as M. Then we know that the other angle, N, could be 107, and this is only 142, and that's still less than 180. That gives us some room. The third angle, right, would be 38 degrees, so that's still valid. We have 3 angles and it adds up to 180, right? As long as this part does not exceed 180, then we have valid triangles. So the answer is choice 1. Is choice 1. Okay. If angle M is 35 degrees, then all the other angles will form a triangle that works out. It's 180 degrees or less. If you actually test it out with 40, 45, 50, other ones over here, what happens is just like this second scenario over here in the middle, they will add up to be more than 180 degrees, and it would not be a valid triangle. So this trying to explain, I know this is kind of difficult in this part in terms of understanding how triangles work in different scenarios, but it's a more difficult question. It's 26, and let's move on to the last one. Question 27 of the multiple choice. Okay, if order does not matter, which selection of students will produce the most possible committees, right? So the word committees here, it's one of the keywords, and you'll see this a lot. Pretty much means you're going to have to use combination for this. So 5 out of 15, that'll be 15C5. This one will be 25C5, and this will be 25C20, and this one over here will be 25C15. You're going to have to use your graphing calculator for this and actually get a number for each one of these combination questions, right? And I'll do one just to show you where it's located for the combination button. So let's try this out. Okay. Okay, and my calculator would not clear. Just give me a second or a few. Alright, for the first one, 15C5, you can type in 15 on the calculator. Combination is located under math, and then you're going to go right 3 times to PRB. PRB just means the probability. And the third choice, NCR, that's combination, so click enter there. Put 5, and then press enter, and that is 15 NRC5, right? You can put the second choice to compare. Let's put 25. Alright, we'll get the answer for that. Let's put the next two also. Alright, there we go. We have all 4 choices. And as you can see, the last one, 25C15, is equivalent to 3,268,760, which is the largest possible committees available. So choice 4 is definitely the answer over here. So I'm just going to circle that. And now we can move on to the short answer questions. Question 28. Determine the value of n in simplest form. Okay, so they want to, combine this, add all the i's, and actually find out n that gives you to make the left side equivalent to 0. Okay, so let's simplify all these i's. Okay, if you study i's in the past, you know that there is a pattern with i's, right? There's only 4 choices it could be. So let's say I to the 0. That's equivalent. Well, any number, even letter to the 0 power, is equal to 1. Right? I to the first is just equal to I squared is equal to -1, and I cubed is equal to -I, right? So usually this you need to memorize or actually just solve it in a way that you can know the order. But what happens is, if you do I4, it just repeats back to the first one. It goes 1, and then the next one, I5, is back to I, right? And the order repeats over and over again. So a quick way in solving to simplify these i's is just taking the exponent 13 and divided by 4. 4 because there's only 4 choices before the repetition happens, right? So 4 into 13, well, that's 3, and the remainder is 1. When the remainder is 1, it's 1, we're just going to look for the exponents of I. And in this case, remainder 1, it's I to the first because they share exponent 1, okay, and that's equal to I. So I13 is just equal to I. Let's look at I18. That's 18 divided by 4. That is 4. Remainder 2, and remainder 2 is just the same as I2, right? Because remainder 2, that's -1. This is plus -1, right? Let's take a look at I31st, right? 31 divided by 4 is 7. Right, remainder 3 is the same as I to the third power, and that is -I, so it's plus -I, and plus n is equal to 0. So let's combine a few terms here. So we have I here plus a -I, well, that's going to be 0, I plus -I, right, that'll be 0, we're left with -1 plus n equals 0, so we can add 1 on both sides and realize that n is equivalent to 1, right? So there you go, we solve for n to make this equation equivalent. Okay, let's take a look at the next one. Okay, number 29, we have a formula for continuous compound interest. It's represented by A equals P, which is principal, e to the R times T power, where A is the amount of money in the account, P is the initial investment, and R is the interest rate, and T is the time. Using the formula, determine to the nearest dollar the amount in the account after 8 years if $750 is invested at an annual rate of 3%. So we're investing 750, so that is the initial investment or principal. So 750, E's here. The rate is 3%, so R as a decimal, it's 0.03, right? T is time, well, in this case is 8 years, so I'll put 8 over here, right? And we want to find out what the amount is after 8 years. So we're going to apply this formula over here. You can actually solve this problem on the calculator by entering it in. So we have 750 E, and E is located by pressing second, and then right here this button LN, I'll bring up E, and we're going to type in 0.03 times 8. Okay, so 0.03, right, times, or I can leave it as parentheses. Right, make sure you close the second parentheses also. You can press enter. Right, and that is $953.44. But this question says round it to the nearest, and let's take a look to the nearest dollar. So this will be $953. Okay. $953. d